this is what I did with my adult money. I'm not gonna lie, I was a hater. I was like, I don't need a little gremlin hanging off of my bag.
I'm not autistic. What are you talking about? I just have 100 toys in my bedroom.
At a time when they're usually supposed to be busy attending college classes to secure a degree to get a supposed brighter future, or if they're not chasing a degree, they should be pursuing a career to put food on their tables. However, Gen Z has been spending their time doing the very important task of collecting toys. Other generations would literally go insane if they had to find out that Gen Z is literally spending hours doom scrolling, and between doom scrolling sessions, they're out here buying huge amounts of toys. And if you think I'm lying, literally at the end of 2024, specifically in the last 3 months of 2024, people 18 and above represented $1.5 billion of purchases in the toy sector. This puts them ahead the age group of 3 to 5, which are literal toddlers basically, which to me is literally crazy. It's literally gotten to the point where this April, people were spending hours and hours in queues waiting to get their hands on the new trendy toy called Labubu. I mean, people were literally waiting outside in queues at 4 a.m. And that is literally diabolical to me because I would not wait in a queue at 4 a.m. even if people had to pay me to. And shockingly, people were so desperate to get their hands on these little plushies that they actually did pay people to wait in queues for them. That really made me drop my jaw because where I live in France, I don't even think we have these apps to pay other people to run errands for us, especially errands that involve waiting hours and hours in lines to get this new monster slash rabbit hybrid plushie. And I'm sorry if you find them cute, but I was literally like, oop, jump scare when I first saw these toys.
Ow! Jump scare.
And I think this whole trend of toy collecting and just the Labubu thing is really posing a lot of questions. Like, is this the downfall of being an adult for Gen Z? Have they literally become adult babies who have lost all sense of priorities by prioritizing buying toys over other basic necessities? And especially, what role does marketing play in this infantilization of Gen Z, and how negative could it potentially be? That's what I will be diving into in this video. Hi, I'm Marvin, your favorite marketing student and part-time essayist living in France, and you're watching Mars Magazine. Remember, all opinions and takes in this video are for commentary and educational purposes only. Like most trendy things circulating online, when it comes to Labubus, we're really only seeing the tip of the iceberg, even though it seems like they basically popped up overnight. But like, these are toys that have been in the making for around 10 years. These fictional things, aka Labubus, were invented in 2015 by casting Lung for his story series called The Monsters. They were heavily inspired by his upbringing in the Netherlands, where he was very much exposed to the European folklore. However, it was only in 2019, with his collaboration with Pop Mart, a Chinese toy company, that Labubu really started to grow. Pop Mart is very much known for its designer toys that usually come in blind boxes, and even though today we're only kind of talking about the Labubu, they have a bunch of other toys on their website. It seems like they really started gaining popularity in Asia when Lisa, a member of the global girl group called Blackpink, posted a picture on her Instagram with a Labubu attached to her bag. Ever since then, they quickly spread and grew in popularity in Asia before spreading over to the Western market, where people are literally going crazy to try to get their hands on one of these Labubus since they're literally always sold out on their website.
When you get the super rare secret Labubu.
Who is it? Oh my god, I'm scared. Who is it? Oh no! Shut up! Shut up! Oh my god, I literally got the secret one! Stop it right now!
With this trend, we're basically seeing Gen Z, who's a generation that's basically characterized by always trying to save money and, make a bargain in a sort of way, like with apps, like Temu and Shein, where they're always trying to save money, while here with this trend, we're literally seeing them spend huge amounts of money. And this is all money that's basically going to buying toys. As I was researching for this video, I literally read that people in China, Gen Z in China, are literally saving money and trying to cut costs when it comes to buying noodles, but they're spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars buying these new toys. Looking at it this way, it really seems like Labubu just got lucky and managed to just blow up overnight, but I'd like to argue that this is all part of a larger trend that we have been seeing take shape within Gen Z in the last couple of years. I mean, just recently, we saw Smiski and, Sonny Angels blowing up. I mean, on a day-to-day basis, especially as a college student, I think it's literally impossible for me to go a day without seeing one of these little babies hanging onto a phone or hanging onto a laptop. So this literally shows that this toy obsession has kind of been taking shape even before Labubu. And I'd also like to point out the fact that people have been obsessed with these, toys even before Sonny Angels and Labubu. We literally saw in 2023 people going crazy over the Barbie movie. And also very recently we had things like Bratz Summer, which in the name Bratz Summer, we literally hear another name of a very famous doll brand that has also been on the rise recently. Between the Barbie movie and Bratz Summer, these things are huge and they literally blew up on social media. This once again adds to the point that this isn't just a punctual obsession and that it's been something that has been growing for some time with Gen Z. Like I said, most of Pop Mart's toys come in these blind boxes that you can buy in vending machines. So you basically go up to the vending machine, obviously, pick the toy that you want, pay, you get a little box, and you open it to see whether you got something interesting or not. This just screams dopamine nightmare. And it's basically toy gambling at this point. And to be honest, it's just one of 3 marketing techniques that I've been seeing these toy brands use to get Gen Z to spend money on toys in a never-ending cycle. And hopefully, by talking about these techniques that they use in this video, I'm going to be able to tell you how to know when these brands are literally pulling your heartstrings to get you to click pay. Okay, so the first marketing technique that these brands have been basically using is gamification, and I basically just kind of explained it. When you go to buy these toys, especially the toys that Pop Mart are selling, you don't know what you're gonna get at the end of the day. This means you get all excited and you get this dopamine rush right before you open the box to see if you got the Labubu that you were praying for. If you got the one you were praying for, great. If you didn't, you end up spending more money to get another box to feel the excitement that you get right before opening them. Like I said, this is basically like a sort of toy lottery. And even though there's no money to win, it kind of feels the same to the people going into this. This whole blind box concept is literally blowing up in China, and I was shook to find out that they literally have blind boxes for everything. I mean, there's literally a blind box for dating matches and also a blind box for leftover food. Like, can you imagine that? I mean, girl, I'm just gonna pull up to the store and get myself a blind box to see if I got some leftover cherries and strawberries. Like, what? It's like they've completely captured the fact that this generation is looking for exciting experiences that change from their everyday routine. These are the routines of our everyday life that can get quite monotonous and that have basically been shaped by algorithms at this point. And I'd even argue that Gen Z is kind of looking for a feeling that feels similar to the games they grew up playing. And I would especially like to point to Roblox. Roblox is basically a platform that offers a bunch of games, and it has basically raised every single person in Gen Z. I don't think any of us can go through our memories and not find at least a couple memories that bring back those feelings of playing Roblox with friends. And on Roblox specifically, we saw the rise of games like Adopt Me and other types of games where basically people could get pets or other, interesting rare things via this egg system that also worked with probabilities like a sort of lottery. These games had thousands, and I literally mean hundreds of thousands of people playing them sometimes. And so I think it has really shaped Gen Z and the things that they go out looking for. It almost seems like with these blind boxes, Gen Z, who is basically growing up right now, they're, kind of looking for experiences that feel just like their games. Talking about growing up, the next marketing technique that I literally saw everywhere was the use of nostalgia. I mean, nostalgia and escapism could literally be two topics to fill entire 1 hour long video essays. Talking about video essays, remember what I said earlier on? I'm your favorite video essayist, so why are you still not subscribed? Go ahead and subscribe and like the video if you're enjoying. As of right now, I think most of us know that things like nostalgia and escapism have been selling like never before. But isn't it weird to talk about nostalgia when these toys like Sonny Angels and Labubu only came out very recently? When I'm talking about nostalgia here, I'm talking about the fact that Labubus and Sonny Angels and these other toys kind of remind us of the toys we had when we grew up, even if they're not the exact same thing. For most of us, our childhoods are times when, everything was so precious and we didn't have basically the weight of the world on our shoulders and we lived carefree lives. We could wake up on a weekend, go to the backyard, grab our toys, and play for hours and hours on end, without a single care of the things going on in the world. However, now most of us are grown up and the world is kind of falling apart, if you guys didn't notice. These toys are basically offering a stable anchor that are rooted in our childhoods, reminding us of the times we had before. An article I read said that toys basically made us feel less scared about the monsters under our beds. But now, the monsters under our beds have transformed into things like anxiety and all the scary things that we see on the news every single day. And all of these problems are basically things we can see 24/7 on social media. And another thing that we can see on social media 24/7 are celebrities and influencers trying to sell us one product or another. I actually have a video about it, but influencers and celebrities have a huge influence on our everyday lives. And this is basically whether we like it or not. And like I said, this trend started with a huge celebrity, Lisa. Through wanting to be and look like her, Labubu started selling more and more. And this is basically how they quickly spread. This in turn causes people who do not have these toys to kind of feel left out. They basically kind of feel like they're missing out on something. And that's basically what we call FOMO marketing. It's basically a strategy that makes us feel like we're missing out on something, and that in the end kind of puts this pressure to end up buying the thing that we feel like we're missing out on. Algorithms are really good at reinforcing this FOMO marketing because when there's a trend going on, we literally cannot escape. You end up seeing it everywhere until eventually you fall to the pressure and actually buy the thing, or you're like me and you end up blocking everything. Another thing that contributed to this feeling of FOMO is the fact that Labubus, just like Sonny Angels, can be used as tools and accessories for personal expression as they become fashion statements that people are putting onto their handbags and onto their other belongings. With all the different color variations that these toys usually come with, it makes people feel like they can really express themselves, on a very personal level. For example, if I like pink, like it's very obvious, I would go and buy a Labubu, or I would try and get my hands on a Labubu or a Sonny Angel that is pink so that I could later put it on my bag to express myself in that way. All these colors also play a role in making it feel kind of like Pokemon, where we have this feeling with all these colors that we need to basically catch them all and collect all the different variants. I mean, as wasteful as all of this seems, I just can't stop wondering whether this whole toy collection / toy obsession is bringing anything positive to the table, or if it's just another disaster waiting to happen. I don't know if you guys have looked at the prices for owning a dog or a cat in 2025, but girl, if you haven't, let me tell you, those prices are literally scary. And I don't think that's a price that most people in Gen Z are willing to pay. And even if we are willing to pay, I don't think that most of our living conditions, with college and stuff, allow us to keep pets in the long run. And I mean, it almost feels like with this toy obsession, people are trying to replace the feeling of owning a pet, but for a fraction of the cost, as they don't have to spend any money on food or on basically other health necessities. And I mean, there is a piece of truth in all of this, as experts and psychologists have said that giving one of these plushies a hug can basically give you a serotonin boost. And like I said, in this super stressful world, this can make all the difference. Also, with the way these toys went viral, it's almost like they created different communities that Gen Z and other people can become a part of. I mean, on TikTok, the hashtag Labubu has over 1 million posts of people sharing their experiences. And joining these trends and these communities can make Gen Z and other people feel like they are in a community and they have the support of this community in a world that basically feels like it's falling apart. Also, we need to remember everybody is trying to make some extra cash in one way or another. And just like with other items that have some sort of rarity, people have been using toy collections as a way to make extra money by reselling them for a higher price. Obviously, this can end up being a side hustle that can, make quite a hefty penny to the people who are partaking in these activities. They could use this extra money on very important necessities, as we've been seeing the cost of living across the world just skyrocketing. Obviously, a lot of people could get the idea and could quickly jump to the conclusion that this whole toy collection issue is basically a bunch of immaturity. But as much as it sounds like I'm a hater on this topic, I actually kind of have to agree with experts who say that it's a behavior that we shouldn't necessarily be worried about. Joshua Dale, who's an expert on cute studies, and yes, apparently something like cute studies actually exists. But yeah, Joshua says that there's a difference between childish behavior and childlike behavior. With childlike behavior being a behavior that puts forward having a bigger sense of curiosity and wonder and being more open to learning new things. This is an approach to life that could have a few benefits, as it allows people to approach life in a more flexible way, and it is different to childish behavior, which is basically behaving like a toddler. As cute and positive as all of this sounds, this whole thing isn't just rainbows and butterflies. As much as it can be a cute little coping mechanism to our everyday stressful lives, this is also something that is putting stress on our finances and on our wallets. With these brands knowing that they can profit off the hype that their toys are currently getting, they speed up the releases of new variants to these toys. This obviously means that people end up spending way more money as they try to constantly keep up with the new variants being released. This constant drop of these different toys in different outfits, in different colors, in different styles are very overtly pushing overconsumption. And like all overconsumption, it has a huge impact on our planet. Obviously, the increased demand for these toys is increasing production, and thus this is requiring more water, more electricity, and more plastic to produce. And this is kind of where I draw the line, because I do not think this is the industry we should be prioritizing when it comes to using all these resources. But if it was something that was a little bit more essential and that didn't just exist for the sole purpose of distracting us from the larger problems in the world, it has a bit more credibility. Whereas here, this is just basically waste for waste. And to me, it just seems like a band-aid on a problem that is one day gonna be ripped off. I mean, the toys we are literally hugging to get us less stressed about the world burning down are basically burning down the world. And the last big negative thing that I see with this whole trend is the fact that this trend is bound to one day dwindle down. Today, everybody is rushing to get the latest, trendiest toys, but what happens when they're not trendy anymore? And you have closets and piles and boxes filled with these toys. I mean, what are you gonna do? Just throw them out? I mean, this is basically what we saw happen with Beanie Babies, where everybody kept on buying them, speculating that their prices would just keep on increasing, so they would resell them for a higher price, until all of this illusion just basically came crashing down. If I had to end the video off with something, it would be telling you to rethink about all the problems that you face in your everyday life, and whether or not you constantly need to buy something to put a band-aid on all these problems. I mean, aren't there other things out there in the world that exist and that could bring you a sense of peace? Things that don't require gallons and gallons of water and of plastic to produce. I mean, girl, let's all be honest, face to face. I am sure there exists other coping mechanisms that don't require you to go bankrupt or to destroy the planet. I mean, what happened to talking with friends? What happened to talking with family? And, just having good conversations, or I don't know, going for a walk to feel better? Buying these toys can obviously be fun, and having one or two laying around can obviously make you feel better. But I'm just telling you to rethink how many of these toys you actually need, and whether or not you constantly need to participate in the limited edition drop events. I mean, we live in a time where finances and just saving money is extremely difficult, and so you really have to be careful not falling down this blind box addiction rabbit hole, because this is something that could have a huge impact on your finances, and it might be something that you look back on and regret spending money on. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video and that you were able to learn a thing or two. I'll see you next week. Bisous, au revoir. Hi gorgeous, it's me. I hope you really enjoyed this video. If you did, here's a video I think you might really enjoy.